Most teams, when they face adversity, crumble and fall, but not all teams are Montreal. Game 6 preview and breakdown coming up with Open Ice Hits with Scotty 2 Hockey. Habs need to get it done tonight. Go Habs, go! Woo! What's up, hockey fans? Open Ice Hits with Scotty 2 Hockey, and we have a nail-biter. Game 6, do-or-die situation tonight for the Montreal Canadiens, just like it was in Game 5. Philly was up 3-1 in the series. The Habs get the job done in Game 5. Nick Suzuki comes up big with the game winner. Yoel Armia finally breaks out and gets 2 nice goals in the game after losing the lead, then getting the lead back, then Philadelphia forcing a tie. Montreal finally ends it with that 4th goal. It was an awesome game, and they got the empty netter to solidify a 5-3 win in Game 5. Now we're on to Game 6, where the Habs are down 3-2 in the series, and they had to get the job done. So let's break down this series a little bit. Let's talk about some of Montreal's stars, about some of Philadelphia's stars, how Carter Hart and Carey Price is playing, which is absolutely phenomenal, I have to say, before I even talk about him. And anybody who's been watching the games or doesn't live under a rock knows both these goalies have been absolute fire. And their numbers, when you put them side by side, they're like mirror images of each other. Not exactly the same numbers, but they're pretty damn close. You don't get closer than what Carter Hart and Carey Price have been in this series. Now, Carter Hart did have 2 shutouts, but Carey Price also had to come up big in the last game, and he also had to come up big with a shutout himself in Game 2, where the Habs absolutely destroyed the Philadelphia Flyers, but we'll talk about that in a second. So let's get down to the game breakdowns. In Game 1, it was a really close game. In my opinion, Carter Hart was a deciding factor with the excellent play he had. Carey Price did play well, but he didn't play as good as what Carter Hart did in Game 1. Carter Hart played excellent, and the Philadelphia Flyers, with a good defensive performance as well, got a 3-2 win, with their role players stepping up and getting them goals in that game. And then in Game 2, after Claude Julien was announced to have a heart attack and Kirk Muller was taking over as the head coach position, the Habs came out on fire. They did it for Claude. They did it for Kirk. They shut down the Flyers offensively. Carey Price got to shut down the Flyers offensively and defensively, I should say. Carey Price got the shutout, and the Habs scored 5 goals to get the 5-0 win. Then we go into the next 2 games, which are brutal if you're a Habs fan, pretty good if you're a Flyers fan. Carter Hart posts back-to-back shutouts. Philadelphia in Game 3, after an excellent defensive performance all around. It wasn't just Carter Hart making a lot of big saves. It was an excellent defensive performance. They didn't let the Habs come in and get any real quality scoring chances, and when they did get their few limited quality scoring chances, Carter Hart was there to answer the bell, and they won Game 3, 1-0. Game 4, a very similar situation, pretty much the exact same situation. I do find that the Habs had better scoring chances, more positivity coming out of Game 4, but Carter Hart did get his next consecutive shutout. So in Game 5, how was Carter Hart going to look? Well, honestly, Carter Hart looked really shaky in Game 5. The Habs won the game 5-3, but technically Carter Hart led in 6 goals. Nick Suzuki scored a goal that beat Carter Hart clean. In my opinion, even though it's Nick Suzuki, I love Nick Suzuki, it was a weak goal and Carter Hart let it in, but it was turned back because of an offsides. Yoel Armia had 2 nice goals in the first period, sniped one off the side of Carter Hart's shoulder, sniped another one bar down, beat Carter Hart clean on both of those. One of those was pretty sneaky. He was screened by one of his own players. Nick Suzuki had the game winner. Jonathan Drouin had an assist on the game winner after going offside, so he made up for that mistake that he made going offsides, because I know myself, when they called that goal back and the Habs had a chance to go up 4-2, I was pounding the table in front of me. I was so pissed off because Drouin, even though he's been doing well with the assists in this series, points-wise, he hasn't been bad overall in the playoffs. There's just something about his game that bothers me. He shows up when he wants to, and he makes bonehead plays in some games. It's not the first time he's cost the Habs with an offside or a bad penalty, trust me. And then we go into some of the positives for Philly and some of the positives for Montreal coming out of last game, and a few of the negatives as well. But one thing I had to talk about first, I almost accidentally skipped it, but it's really important. Brendan Gallagher is injured. He's definitely out for the series. He got a broken jaw. I don't know if he's going to be back for the next series if the Habs do win this series. This is a huge loss. This is the team's leading scorer. Matt Niskanen got him with a high cross-check last game, right up in the face. Alain Vigneault for the Philadelphia Flyers says it's because Brendan Gallagher was short. Looked really dirty to me. The refs missed it, so the NHL stepped in and they suspended Matt Niskanen for 1 game. Myself, personally, I would like to see him get suspended for the series. Gallagher is out for the series. There's no reason Niskanen shouldn't be out for the series too. So Niskanen is suspended for 1 game from the NHL, and Brendan Gallagher is definitely out for the series, probably longer, going to have surgery on his jaw, which absolutely sucks if you're a Habs fan. Not only is he the leading scorer, he's a spark plug, he's a hard worker, he's a top line player, he's fast, he gets to the front of the net, he screens the goalie, he deflects Shea Weber pucks in, and other players, of course, but he loves deflecting those Shea Weber pucks in. And I gotta pause this video right quick because my daughter is waking up while I'm doing the review, so I'll be right back with you folks. And here I am, back in action. So that's the injury news. That's the Niskanen news. My daughter was waking up, and I know you guys didn't want to hear screaming baby in the background of the video. Sometimes she lets me do these reviews when she's in the room with her, but today she just wasn't having it. She's cranky, she's crooked. So let's talk about some positives for the Flyers and some positives for Montreal, and a little bit of news when it comes to KK. Now, as far as the Philadelphia Flyers go, they finally snapped their 28 straight power play drought. They had 28 straight power plays where they didn't get a point, they didn't produce any offense, especially with the power play they had coming out of the regular season. I know it ended due to COVID. They probably didn't have the chemistry built up. They probably didn't have enough time to truly get their power play clicking, but this was one of the better power plays in the league, so it's shocking to see it this bad in the postseason. And they finally snapped it. KK ended up getting a 5-minute major in the last game. The game misconduct as well. I'll talk about that in a second. But off that 5-minute major, Philadelphia got 2 power play goals. And then later in the game, off a Kevin Hayes penalty, where Kevin Hayes got hooked by somebody when he was coming in on the power play. I can't remember exactly who. I believe it may have been Lehkonen or Drouin, but anyways, that's besides the point. When Kevin Hayes got, off the Kevin Hayes penalty, the Montreal Canadiens let in another power play goal, so Philadelphia had 3 power play goals in that game, so that's a very big positive for Philadelphia. And another big positive is their top stars are finally starting to get it going, which is bad for Montreal because Philadelphia has been depending on their role players like Lawton in these playoffs. Besides Kevin Hayes, their top 6 hasn't been very good, but in the last game, even though they lost the game, they were, but only on the power play, not 5-on-5. All 3 of Philly's goals came on the power play last game. Claude Giroux had 2 assists. Jakub Voracek had 2 goals and an assist, even though he was a -1. He had 2 goals and an assist, and he was a -1. So that showed that he was on the ice for a lot of goals at least. And then we go to Suzuki, really finding his game, made Carter Hart look silly on that game-winning goal. Drouin comes behind the net, passes the backhand out front to Suzuki. Suzuki is very patient, waits for Carter Hart to go down, just steps around him, steps around the Philly defender that's right next to Suzuki. He doesn't get his stick lifted or anything like that. It's perfectly in position, just slides it in the net. A beautiful, smart goalie by Suzuki, because a lot of rookies, as soon as they got that on their stick, would have panicked, put it in off Hart, and banked it off his helmet, and it would have got deflected, or one of the players that were around him would have blocked it. Suzuki didn't panic at all. He held it there, he made the right move and put it in. It was beautiful. Armia, like I said earlier, had 2 goals, 2 beautiful snipes. And KK will play in the next game. A lot of people were wondering, would he get suspended for a game or 2 because of his hit? I didn't even think it was that bad of a hit. At least a 2-minute penalty for sure, because it was on the numbers. But the player kind of did lean into it, kind of did let Suzuki, or did let Kotkaniemi lay into him like he did. But he did get a 5-minute major, a game misconduct, and he won't be suspended for that, so he'll be playing in the next game. So that's excellent news for the Habs, because it would really suck if we had KK and Galley out of the next game. That would be brutal. That would basically, in my opinion, unless Carey Price stood on his head, kill the Habs. And another thing I need to mention about the last game, Ben Sherratt had a terrible game last game. He was screening his own goalie. 2 goals went in off him, 1 off the skate, 1 off the stick. Positionally, he was all out of place. He wasn't as physical as I like him. He's been great in the series. He's been great in the postseason. But if that's the Ben Sherratt we're going to get, that's not going to bid well for the Habs. It was really, really a rough game for Ben Sherratt last game. Yes, the Habs did win, but Sherratt didn't really redeem himself, and he looked really bad in front of Price, really bad in his own end. Honestly, the first bad postseason game I can see so far for Sherratt, in my opinion. And once again, Price was very solid in the last game. Wasn't amazing, but made key saves when it counted. Made key saves when it counted. And it was really good to see Nick Suzuki step up and get the game winner, and Joel Armia get it going. So those are some positives I had written down for the Habs and Philly. Now we'll get into a little bit of the series stats. In the series stats, the goals per game are 2.33 for the Montreal Canadiens and 2.38 for the Philadelphia Flyers. So they're very, very close to each other when it comes to offensive production. Then we go into the goals against per game. The Habs have a 1.78 goals against per game, and the Philadelphia Flyers have a 1.75. So Carey Price and Carter Hart are very similar. Even in the games when the Montreal Canadiens got shut out, Carey Price limited to 3 goals between those 2 games. So he only had a 1.5 goals against average in those 2 games. So that's crazy. And then we go to the power play. Montreal actually has a better power play than Philadelphia Flyers, and Philadelphia would have been 0% if they didn't get those 3 power play goals last night, because they had no other power play goals in the postseason. Philadelphia's 11.4 and Montreal is 12.9. So is it great? It's not great by no means, but at least for once the Habs have a better power play than the team they're facing so far. I don't think that's going to last long. Hopefully the Habs can win Game 6, but it wouldn't by any means shock me if the Habs had a bunch of power plays, stunk it up, and dropped that percentage even more. And then we go into the penalty kill. Pretty much dead even besides 0.1%. Montreal has an 82.9% penalty kill. Philadelphia has an 82.8% penalty kill. Man, in my opinion, this series is going to Game 7. Like, you look at the numbers, you look at the teams, you look at the players, the goalies, how they stack up against each other. It's so close. It's almost a mirror. Like, besides being dead even, it's as close to a mirror image of each other as you can get in this series. And then we go into the face-off percentage overall in the playoffs, because I couldn't find the exact face-off percentage for this series. So Philadelphia overall in the playoffs has a 57.2% face-off percentage, and I know they're even better in this series. They're way better than Montreal in the face-off dot. And overall, Montreal has a 45.6% face-off percentage, and it wouldn't be half as good if it wasn't for Suzuki and Deneau, because they are winning the majority of Montreal's face-offs. Then we go into the team leaders so far in the playoffs for both teams. For the Montreal Canadiens, it's Jesperi Kotkaniemi with 4 goals. He leads in goals. In assists, it's Jonathan Drouin, surprisingly, has 4 assists. In points, it's Shea Weber, but there are also 2 other players tied with Shea Weber in points. Jeff Petrie and I believe Paul Byron. Don't hold me to that, though. Maybe it's Drouin. They didn't have the exact list there. They just had Shea Weber listed as the point leaders when I was writing down the leaders. And average time on ice isn't Shea Weber. It's Jeff Petrie. He's playing 25 minutes and 25 seconds per game. And then we go to Philly. You look at Philly, Voracek's dominating in all areas. Voracek leads in goals. He has 4 goals. Couturier leads in assists, but Voracek isn't far behind him. He has 3 assists himself. Voracek leads in points, 7 points, and he has a 25-minute and 18-second average per game, and he's leading the team there as well. We'll go to Carey Price and Carter Hart. Both very similar. Carey Price has 5 wins, 4 losses, but he's also played more games than Carter Hart so far in these playoffs. I'm counting the qualifying round, the 3 games that Philly played qualifying as playoff games for Philly. Yes, I am going to count that in these stats. Some people may not. But Carey Price has a 5-win, 4-loss record, 2 shutouts, a 1.64 goals against, and a .943. And both of these guys were over .950 besides last game. Their last game dropped both of them a little bit, more so Hart than Price, because Hart had a crazy save percentage. He was like .961 or something. But now he has a 5-win record, 2 losses, 2 shutouts, a 1.66 goals against. So Price has a 1.64. Hart has a 1.66, very, very similar. Price has a .943 save percentage. Hart has a .944 save percentage. So how much closer can you get than that? Carter Hart is just a little bit better. And they both have 2 shutouts. Carter Hart has both his shutouts in this series, though. Price has 1 in the series. Price is due to get that second one in tie Hart the way this thing's going. So Price might get a shutout tonight. And then I wrote down Elliott might play. Now, don't hold me to this. Alain Vigneault has been known to make crazy decisions in the past, especially when it comes to goaltending. And last game, he was going to pull Carter Hart. He was hoping Carter Hart could stay. If that Suzuki goal wasn't turned back, he was going to pull Carter Hart. As soon as they turned back the Suzuki goal and he realized Philadelphia had more of a chance, he left Hart in there to see if Hart could get the job done. And no offense to Carter Hart, but he was shaky after that. He was not solid. So maybe Alain Vigneault might give Brian Elliott a chance, because Brian Elliott has been solid in these playoffs. He's played 2 games. He has 1 win. The other game counts as a loss to Carter Hart because he came in halfway through the second period or the beginning of the third, because Carter Hart got pulled after the 4th goal. And he has a 1.47 goals against, so an excellent goals against, actually less than Hart and less than Price, and a .913 save percentage over a very small sample, but we all know that Brian Elliott is a very solid goalie. As good as a young a really talented goalie like Carter Hart? I don't know, but in these playoffs, he's looked very solid. So Alain Vigneault could go to Brian Elliott. So that's the series breakdown right there. Now I'd like to get into my prediction. Like I said before, Carter Hart has 2 shutouts. Carey Price has 1. Tonight, I really think this is going to be the Carey Price show. These guys stack up against each other so well. I think the Philadelphia defense is going to be strong. I think the Montreal Canadiens' defense is going to be strong. But Philadelphia is missing Niskanen. They're going to put Ghost in his spot for sure. That's definitely something the Habs can take advantage of. As well as Ghost has played offensively in this postseason, at least in the beginning of it, he's not the most solid defender. That's a weak spot right there for the Philadelphia Flyers. I think the Habs are going to take advantage of it, and I'm picking a very low-scoring game, and I think Carey Price is going to be phenomenal. In games like this in the past, he's proven he's been phenomenal. You look at what he did to Boston a couple of years ago. Even when the Habs got eliminated in 6 games against the Rangers in 2016, Carey Price was amazing in that series. The only reason the Habs got eliminated is because they literally could not score for the guy. But overall, Carey Price has been solid. In his last 3 playoff runs, he's been phenomenal. And I expect Carey Price to be the game breaker in this game. I'm picking a 2-0 shutout for the Montreal Canadiens. Price stands on his head and gets the Habs the win, and Nick Suzuki steps up and gets a goal. So that's my prediction for tonight's game. The first star of the game, in my opinion, will be Carey Price, followed closely by Nick Suzuki. I think he's going to get a goal, and I think he's going to probably get in another goal if the Habs do get the other goal. It could be as low scoring as 1-0. I expect a very good defensive performance by both teams, even though Niskanen is out for the Flyers. Doesn't matter. I still expect them to be very good defensively. The same with the Montreal Canadiens, and I expect both goalies to be very solid. But I think Carey Price will give the Habs the edge, and I'm picking a 2-0 win for the Montreal Canadiens. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you think so far of the series. And, of course, stay safe and have a great day wherever you're to. If you can, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button if you want to. Have a great day wherever you're to, folks. Over and out. Open Ice Hits with Scotty 2 Hockey. Go Habs, go tonight, baby. It's do or die. Stay safe, folks.